Hello and welcome back. Thank you for tuning in here. And let's address an issue, a thought. Sometimes it's a pervasive overall feeling that we all have at one time or another as students of this course. And if you're not yet a student of this course and you choose to embark upon it, which of course you're more than welcome to do, you will experience this. Guaranteed. But don't let that frighten you, please, because the outcome is peaceful and it's certain. And, well, you have every reason to stick around. What we're talking about here is this pervasive belief among course students and those who have taken a look at A Course in Miracles and perhaps ventured into it for a little bit, or they were interested, and perhaps you're in that space where this has drawn your attention for some reason. Well, it was meant to draw your attention, and you're here for a reason amidst all of the other content out there and available on the internet, which, as we all know, is a lot. Yeah. So here you are. There is this belief out there that we all experience from time to time that this course is hard, that it's too difficult and that we can't learn it. It is just over my head, people say. And perhaps you've said the same thing to yourself. I don't understand this. What does this have to do with spirituality at all? Questions like that are great questions. They really are. And they're very common. So, to the extent that you're right now, today, going through this thinking, what is Jesus actually even saying here? I don't get this. What does this have to do with spirituality in any way, shape, or form? What? It's quite common enough. Here's why you're here. You have arrived at what the Course refers to as the branching of the road, a crossroads, in other words. The branching of a road, where a road has been going maybe straight, maybe, well, in our lives, zigzag, and you reach a point where it diverges, just like this. Two roads diverge in the wood. One is certainly more traveled than the other. Robert Frost fans, you know the one to take, and you're going to take that because you're already on it. So here we are at the branching of the road, and you can no longer go forward because the road branches. Now we're at a point of decision. Mm. This is directly from the text of A Course in Miracles, chapter 22, section 4, which appropriately enough is entitled The Branching of the Road. So here we find ourselves. Here you find yourself at the branching of the road. There are two paths. You have to take one or the other because you cannot go back. What you can do, rather than choose a path, is delay. That you can do. So, here's why you're here watching this video. You have arrived at this place, or at one point in the past, you had arrived at this place, and you chose one path instead of the other. Inevitably, as though you were drawn to it, and you are drawn to it. First of all, let's back up. The reason that you're interested in spirituality at all is because you have heard and listened to, more importantly, and listened to the universal call of the Holy Spirit to awaken, the universal call of our inner teacher to awaken. Now, you may call this teacher whatever you wish. Even in the Course itself, it goes by many names. Some of them, the answer with a capital A, Very commonly, the Holy Spirit is referred to as the voice for God. It's also known as the communication link, mediator, friend, comforter, all capital letters. Yeah. You may call it Betty. You may call it Mike. You may call it your high council by multiple names. Makes no difference. You've heard the call to awaken. That's why you're interested in spirituality in the first place. Heard the call, listened to it. Thank you. And you've listened to it a lot because you're here, right here. You're interested in this thing called A Course in Miracles, which clearly is one of many traditions. It's one of many doors. Spirituality has many doors. If this visual picture is helpful to you, and it may very well be, they all lead to the same place, God. I mean, there are many doors, which accounts for the vast number of spiritual practices and traditions and modalities from the traditional large world religions that we all know about to other forms. They all lead to the same place in the end, each and every door, every path. So here you are at the branching of the road. One path is represented by continued individuality suffering the ego, which you don't want or you wouldn't be here. And the other path is the path that leads to happiness, joy, truth. It's the thought system of the Holy Spirit. It's light instead of darkness. And each and every one of us that has arrived at this point, if you have not chosen the pathway of the Holy Spirit, yet you will inevitably, though you can delay. We can. Any one of us can delay our own awakening, and we've been doing it. We have most certainly been doing it. That's why this conversation appears to be happening. So we can stand here at the branching of the road and vacillate and dither. Can't go back. Wouldn't want to go back anyway. But we can stand here and tell ourselves lots of things like, yeah, that way is too hard. I don't understand it with the intellectual thinking mind. I don't understand why these very first few lessons of the workbook have me repeating such weird ideas as nothing I see on the street means anything. That's a common enough and a really good question, actually. That and all of the workbook lessons have everything to do with spirituality. As it turns out, we can stand and delay as long as we want to. And you may find yourself delaying the rest of this lifetime. Hopefully not. Right? Hopefully not. You're listening to this message from the Holy Spirit to take that first step. And here's the deal. Here's why this course seems hard. It's only the first few steps along the path that seem difficult. It's only the first few steps that seem excruciating and brutal. But nothing is as brutal and excruciating as standing there not making a decision. That is the most painful. It is. That's the most excruciating, standing and delaying. And inevitably, you will cease to do that and embark on the path, the Holy Spirit's path, of course, naturally. And it's only the first few steps that seem difficult. That is why this course can seem so difficult, especially at first, because these ideas are not something that we've been raised with. And if you were, excellent. I certainly was not. And I think a lot of us can relate to not being raised with the idea that you're not a body. For starters, I was raised in a medical family. Yeah, of course we're a body, right? That's what I was raised to believe. And so we're almost all of us. Yeah, this is me, right? No, it's not. Not. In truth, it is not. We weren't raised with ideas like nothing I see on this street means anything. In fact, to us in life, it's meant everything. What I see on this street, what I see out this window, a sunlit rooftop, a wall that quail sometimes run across, which is really cool. I live in the U.S. state of Arizona, and there are Gambel's quail all over the place. Very pretty birds. They're often in the backyard, which is what I'm looking at out this window. Nothing I see out this window means anything. I've given it all the meaning it has for me. Ideas like that, those are from the workbook. We think that this is hard because we've been conditioned to be fearful and afraid. We think we're an individual ego. Therefore, we think we're constantly under attack and feel a constant need to defend ourselves against an attack that may or may not ever come. We spend a lot of time worrying about future events that never happen anyway. We can all relate to that one, for sure. What happens here is that this course repeats several very simple ideas. We introduce all of the complications ourselves, and until we realize that we've been conditioned to do this, it's really difficult for us to grasp this and to have some, well, we would call it some kindness toward ourselves, to have some understanding that, hey, through no fault of our own, we've been conditioned by our parents, by our school system, by our family, by the mass media, maybe especially the mass media, by our societies, wherever we live in the world, by all of these apparently exterior influences, we've been conditioned to think that we're a human being with a limited shelf life and that what passes for our lives here in the world is all that matters and it's all that is. Yet deep down, we know there's a lot more to it than that. I mean, if you hadn't acknowledged and accepted that multiple times, you wouldn't be watching this video. That's for sure. So it's several simple ideas repeated over and over. And the point is that we start out on the journey after the branching of the road. It's only the first few steps that seem to be difficult. Once you do it, and this course is all about practical application, you learn it by doing it. The point of it is not for it to be some theoretical mental gymnastics exercise like graduate school, if you've been. Hmm, I lived through that one. And if you haven't, who cares, right? The point of this course is to do it. When we start to take those steps under the direction of the Holy Spirit, our experience shows us that what we're practicing, the ideas that we're learning here, are true. It's visceral, you could say. It's experiential. That's the best learning, by doing, by experience. And the more that we do it, the less difficult it appears. Yes, there will be moments where you rush to judgment of somebody, and you will be able, with practice, to recognize exactly what's going on and forgive. Forgive yourself for dreaming it. Forgive whoever you've judged, right? And continue on. And this is true of frankly any journey that we undertake in life. It's those first few steps that seem so difficult, that seem wobbly and uncertain, where we're not sure if we're going to fall down, kind of like a toddler learning to walk. They start to crawl, and then they are able to stand up, supporting themselves against a wall and shuffle along a wall. And then come those first few steps and some falls, perhaps. Yeah, it's quite like that. And the more we do it, the more habitual it becomes. Rather than judge, we forgive. Rather than extend condemnation, hatred, and blame to people, judging them, projecting our own insecurities onto them, we extend love instead. We accept our function as miracle workers rather than judgers, to put it that way. This decision that you've made to embark on the path of the Holy Spirit cannot be undone, by the way, and it has the power of heaven with it. It has the power of heaven with it, behind it, underneath it, supporting it. It cannot fail. You will awaken. You may wonder when. Well, I don't know. I mean, who knows when that's actually going to come? Maybe in the next 5 minutes. We don't know. The point is, we all have the present moment to choose the thought system of the Holy Spirit, to choose the branch at the branching of the road. We're all at a metaphorical branching of the road every moment of every day because we have this opportunity to choose. We have the opportunity to choose love and forgiveness instead of fear and condemnation, hatred, blame, rage, and all kinds of discontent. Yeah? We have that opportunity right now to choose once again. Who cares what you chose before? The past is gone, can't go back, and it is gone. It's not relevant to the choice you make right now. And you know the one that leads to peace. The path itself is peace. So we're invited to walk it. And I invite you to join me. And many of you have. And that actually applies on several different levels. Join me in forgiving the Son of God. Join me in this path. Join me. And of course, right here on YouTube, you're welcome to join this community by subscribing. This is the prompt in the corner of your screen over here. And click that, you'll be invited to join us. Now, questions are inevitable on the spiritual path. It's one of deep self-inquiry, after all, and you're more than welcome to ask whatever questions you have here about A Course in Miracles and about spirituality in general, because as we say, it's very common to believe this is hard, that you can't do it. Well, you can, and you will. Now, whether you stand in delay and you choose, okay, I'm not going to follow this course. I'm going to follow another path because I'm more comfortable with it or I'm more drawn to it. Absolutely not a problem. Remember, there are many doors and they all lead to the same place in the end. So walk through one of them and keep going. All of the doors lead to God in the end. And the reason for that is entirely simple. God is the only reality. Not all of the doors say that, by the way, but this one does. And we've always known. Oh, there's no separation of any kind, by the way. You're not separate from God. How could you be? You're not separate from other people. There is no other. You're not separate from your brother. There's no separation of any kind. So I invite you to join me here, and please feel welcome to ask questions if you've got them. Thank you.